Hey, what's up, guys? Here in the Fire Sports Pod. We back at it with another episode here in the Fire Sports Pod. For this week, we are powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard go. And welcome, guys. We are back like we never left, and we got two segments for you guys on this at today's episode. First up, we're going to be going over our March Madness bracket, where we're at. We're into the final couple games of March Madness, and that will be it until next year. And then we're going to be going over a controversy award thing where you have a 65 game threshold for NBA stars. And what's my take on it with the latest star of Anthony Edwards not going to be able to get an award at the end of the season because he missed over he's missed over the I would say the over the 17 game threshold, so they leave it to 65. There's 82 games in a season, so he was out tonight against the Pistons. So we're gonna be going over that, and that'll be pretty much it. So let's get right into it. Shall we? We're gonna share our screen, and we're gonna go over our March Madness bracket because damn, it has been one hell of a show in March Madness. So far right now, like I said, we went over up until the Sweet 16. What a matchup we had for St. John's versus Kansas, then Duke versus St. John's. What a game this was, man. I mean, Duke versus St. John's. It was back and forth. Duke started off a little slow. St. John's came out hot, but Duke was able to prevail. Cameron Boozer did what he had to do, but St. John's had one hell of a season and played one hell of a game against the number one team in the country. And Duke loved their fight. Picked Duke to win, but wouldn't have been mad if St. John's would have took the dub. Then we have Michigan State against UConn. Tom Izzo versus Dan Hurley. What a matchup between two juggernaut coaches and two juggernaut universities. And guess what, guys? Dan Hurley and UConn was able to get the job done. And they versed Duke to advance to the Final Four. And guess what happened? Duke had the game, man. They had it. Caden Boozer got it over half, got the ball from his brother Cameron in the middle of the court. He dribbled and tried to throw it over the top. There was nobody back for UConn. It would have been a dunk, and the game would have been over. They would have won by 4 points. But it was tipped, and then it was given. Holy shit. It was given at almost half court, and it was basically at the buzzer. It was like 0.6 left on the clock, and he hits it, and they win the game 73-72. A lot of controversy came into Caden if he should have just held onto the ball and let them foul because they needed to foul. They had no more timeouts. They needed to foul, and they had no fouls to give. So UConn could have won it at the line, but he decided to make the play. I personally liked his thought process. I wouldn't have dribbled the ball. I think when him dribbling the ball and then throwing it, if he would have just turned and passed, you always look before you dribble. You don't dribble first. That's everyone's been taught. I'm a coach as well. You don't dribble first. You look first, then dribble if you need to. You look to pass. And I think if he would have just turned, and looked and passed that ball, it would have been a different story. But he didn't. And I don't blame him on the loss. Yes, everyone's going to, but I don't blame him. He made the call that he thought was right. But I think if he's going to make that play, you can't dribble the ball. You just got to grab it and then pass it. So that was one hell of a game. They're going to be playing Illinois. They're going to be playing UConn beat Duke, and UConn's going to be playing Illinois in the Final Four. Now moving over, we had Arizona against Arkansas. Darius Acuff against Arkansas. It was not even a competition. Arizona's just too big, too strong. They were just a juggernaut to Arkansas. They won 109-88. It was a great season for Arkansas. John Calipari, Darius Acuff. It was a great season, but just came to an end pretty sadly. I wish it was going to be a closer game. But Arizona was able to get the job done. Then we had Texas against Purdue. Purdue was almost lost this game. Texas had it back and forth. It literally was tipped in with 0.4 on the clock by Purdue to win 79-77. So what a game that was. Came down to the wire. Texas played unbelievable. They beat BYU by 8 in the first round. Then they went against, well, first off, they had the first 4 they had to beat out They won. Then they versed BYU in AJ advances, beat them. Then they versed Gonzaga, beat them. And then they took on Purdue, and they almost won the game. So they had a great season. What a play! What a game! What a season by Texas. Then Arizona played Purdue, and it wasn't really close. Arizona was able to get the job done, 79-64, pretty easily. So it looks like the juggernauts. Arizona is a monster. So Arizona moves on to play Michigan in the Final Four, which is going to be a hell of a game. Now moving on to the South and the Midwest, where we had, I didn't get any of this really right. Iowa took down Nebraska, which was crazy. Iowa takes down Nebraska to advance 77-71. Iowa had a hell of a season. They beat Clemson, then they beat number 1 Florida, then they beat number 4 Nebraska. And then you had Illinois. They took down Penn, and then they versed VCU, destroyed them. Houston took on Texas A&M, destroyed them, and then Houston just ran into a brick wall. They could not really shoot the ball. They let up 65, and Illinois won by 10. So they advanced to play Iowa, where Illinois was able to take control. Iowa was close in the beginning of the game, but Illinois was able to dominate in the second half towards the end of the game to win 71-59 to take a date against UConn, which is going to be a great game. But I think Dan Hurley and UConn is going to get the job done. Now moving to the Midwest, where we had Michigan on a roll, absolutely mauled Howard, absolutely mauled St. Louis, and then they versed the Alabama team who was looking pretty good. They killed Hofstra, they killed Texas Tech, and then they versed Michigan, and then they couldn't shoot the ball. They really just could not hit any, and they could not play defense. They let up 90 points to Michigan. Michigan's a hell of a team. They got studs all around, and they're big as shit too. Then we had Tennessee. What a run they were on. I mean, Tennessee beat Miami, Ohio, killed them. They beat number 3 Virginia. Then they beat Iowa State, who beat my Wildcats by 19. They beat them by 14. That was a hell of an upset. Did not see that coming. Tennessee and Texas, those two teams came out of nowhere. Then Tennessee versus Michigan, and it wasn't even a game. 95-62. Absolutely, Michigan destroyed Tennessee. And their date in the Final Four is coming up to April 4th, which is Saturday. Both of these games are happening on Saturday. Duke against Illinois is happening at 6:09 p.m. Eastern Time against UConn against Illinois. Dan Hurley, I think, is going to get the job done. He's going to get to the Final Four. He's going to get to the championship game. But he's going to be versed in Arizona. I'm rocking with Arizona. I like Michigan, the way they play, but I'm going with Arizona to get the win. They're just too big, too strong. I like them a lot. So I think Arizona gets the win against Michigan and plays in the championship game on April 6th, which would be Monday. And I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm taking Arizona. I mean, my pick is Arizona to win it all. It's going to be tough to verse Dan Hurley's team, but I think Arizona's too big, too strong, and a much better team. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think Arizona's going to pull it out. So that's pretty much it for our recap of our bracket here. I mean, we didn't do that bad. We're at 770 points, not the greatest, 70.4 percentage. But yeah, this is my bracket, and we got 3 more games left, guys, of March Madness. What a year it's been. But that's pretty much it, guys. We're going to be moving on from March Madness, and we're going to go into some NBA talk. So let's get right into it. All right, I'm going to share my screen just so you guys can see what's happening and what we're going over. All right, so this has been a talk of the talk over this past season. The 65-game rule has made Anthony Edwards ineligible for any NBA All-NBA honors. After the season, he missed tonight's game against the Pistons. Again, it's hard to argue that Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards is not among the 15 best players in the NBA this season. He's the league's 3rd leading scorer and only all-star on a team that has all but clinched a spot in the 2026 playoffs. Dig through all-in-one metrics, box plus minus per, and he pops up in the top 15 more often than not. He's having most efficient shooting season of his career, and while remaining a plus defender, a notable development considering he's back-to-back All-NBA choice. Yet Edwards won't make All-NBA this season as he'll fall short of the league's controversial 65-game threshold. Thanks to his absence on Thursday against the Pistons with a right knee injury and illness, he can technically not appear in 65 games, but he can't rack up 65 eligible ones, playing at least 20 minutes because in Minnesota's third game of the season, he left having played only 3. Missing out of the All-NBA isn't just a legacy matter for Edwards, it's a tangible consequences. All-NBA selection would be assured him supermax eligibility for his contract extension. He's eligible to sign in 2027 offseason. Now, despite already having 2 All-NBA picks in his back pocket, he'll have to make it again next season to ensure that the eligibility, all because in the end, he will have missed somewhere between 1 and 7 too many games. Now, he's not the only one. Cade Cunningham has been in this situation. Giannis, Joel, LeBron will never really in the hunt because of early season absences, but those absences weren't all necessarily created equal. Take James, he's capable of playing in no more than 61 games this season. His fate essentially sealed by his 14-game absence to open the season. Yet he has played 1,844 minutes this season. Victor, who will be eligible if he plays 3 more times in San Antonio's last 5 games, has played 1,784. So this man is 41. He's played almost 100 more minutes than Victor, who's in the top 3 of MVP conversation. He's participated in 6 more games, but in terms of minutes, he has actually played about a game and a half less than James has. The rule has no allowance for such situations. Nor does it weigh around by prestige when Jokic returned from his injury in January. It's allowed him to re-enter the MVP race. However, one more absence, he only misses out on a chance at MVP. So this is the problem. The fact of the matter is that I get the whole point is trying to make the NBA more watchable, where the point of the matter is you get the stars to be in the game, you get the big-time guys, and you don't have dudes that play 45 games and still is able to get an award at the NBA season or in the NBA MVP conversation, because obviously they're going to be more efficient if they play less games. But, for instance, I mean, Anthony Edwards is playing great. I mean, he's probably averaging over 25 a game. He plays great defense. He's shooting fantastic percentage this season, best of his career, as I said earlier. And then LeBron James, obviously he's 41, but damn, bro, like, not to be on the All-NBA, he's playing more minutes than Victor has, and Victor's 22 years old. So it just shows you. I think it's a little weird. I think what we should do is, instead of put it at 65, we should put it at 70 games, 72. At least that gives people a little bit more. That's 10 games or 10 to 12 games. You can't miss more. But I think 65, or not 65, my bad. It should be at 60 games instead of 65. I think it just gives a little bit more leeway for injuries and stuff like that, because people do get injured. But if they come back and they're playing great, like Jokic is playing phenomenal after his absence. I mean, obviously Paul George hasn't really played that much either, but he's playing unbelievable since his suspension, since he came back from his suspension, and he was before his suspension. So it gets a give and take. I know we're trying to get the stars not to do load management and all this crap, but I really, really think that we got to give it a little bit more leeway, because it's not fair to some guys who are really trying their best to get back, and they really were playing well before injury, after injury, or if they have to sit out a game or two. Like, I mean, Anthony Edwards has a little bit of a knee problem, and on top of that, he's got an illness. I mean, if he plays 20 minutes in the third game of the season instead of only leaving at 3 minutes, then he's eligible for the All-NBA list. So it kind of sucks. I think we should drop it to 60 games instead of 65 or even 58. So that gives a little bit more leeway. So that's, instead of 17, that's 22 games that you can't miss more than 22. And I think that's a good mark. Either 22 or 24. I think that's a good mark between the 20 and the 22 mark. The 18 and the 22 mark. No, my bad, because that's one more game. I think it would say the 20 to 22 mark would be great, or 20 to 25. You can't miss more than 20 to 25 games in the season, and I think that works perfectly. You take really away from the load management for the guys that really want to be in the NBA honors and get awards, but you also keep understanding that people do get injured, and it happens. And they shouldn't be penalized because they got injured, and legitimate injuries, not just people wanting to sit out because they're tired or they just want to save themselves for the playoffs. But yeah, that's my take on it. It's a little bit of controversy. I think we should drop it to 60 games instead of 65, just giving that little bit of a leeway. But we'll see what Adam Silver does if he does change anything. But the season's coming down to the wire, and what a game, what a season it's been. We got a little bit ways to go, and that will be it for the NBA season and the playoffs start. But Lakers got a marquee matchup tonight against OKC, just kicked off. So let's go Lakers. But other than that, guys, that is pretty much it for the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we got is hot. I'm your host, Zack Jackson, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to check out the TikTok on the Fire Sports Pod, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, X, and LinkedIn. Those are all the platforms we're on. Sooner rather than later, we'll be on Twitch and Kick again, and we'll get that up and running. But other than that, guys, hope you have a great rest of your night and enjoy your weekend. And we will see you guys on Tuesday for Recap Tuesday, which will be Season 9, Episode number 14 here on the Fire Sports Pod. We're powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard go. Peace out, guys.